Hello guys, Lit here. So this video will be about this build, and this is Carrion Golem. And this is my first build on PoE. I think I played on Sentinel League. I still play from time to time just because I like the build. This is my most favorite build. But this league, we get a lot of new things, so I want to try it again. And the transfigure gem of the Carrion Golem also getting buffed. So Carrion Golem of Scavenging getting buffed for all the skill damage. Around 20 to 25% more damage, and also we got a Mercenary, right? With Mercenary we can play with rodent prototypes, we can get a lot of DPS from there. So let's go over the build first, and then we're going to talk about another detail about the build after that. So the first one, let's begin with the gear. Number one is the sword. This is the core of the build, and this is what gives this build a lot of power, basically. Like if you see the descriptions, the Socrates skill deal 40% attack damage, Socrates gem supported by Ruthless, +1 level Socrates gem supported by critical strike, critical damage, and all that stuff. Ideally, you want to open suffix because the chance to build doesn't really do anything. We do not do physical damage. Ideally, you want to open suffix so you can craft minion attack spell and cast it, but this is the only sword that I can find, so I'm just going to take it. This is probably the hardest item to get, and unfortunately, I don't know how to craft this sword. So I buy this around like 200 divine and pair them with Squire. Basically, what Squire did is every gem that on the Squire will also support the gem on your main hand. So I'm putting Carrion Golem and Raise Zombie here because Carrion Golem and Zombie is the two main DPS of this build. Golem, if you see on the screen, like it have 11 link basically. So, and this is big chunk of the power of the build. So for the Squire, the most important part is the +1 level of Socrates gems. The plus chance to block spell. This is originally I tried to play with block, then I remember that if I use block, that's mean there's another map modifier I need to worry about, so I just decided not to go block. And the most important part is just the +1 level of Socrates gems, and this is because there's empower here, and level of Socrates gem will also increase your empower level. And that's basically give more level to the minions. And for minions, more levels is always better because more levels meaning you have more life and also more damage. And the next one is for the helmet. The helmet is just a Lich circlet with fracture +2 or minion. And the reason why I go for ES, because usually people will go for armor ES rather than just pure ES. The reason why I'm going full ES is because of chaos inoculation. So if I go CI, I don't have to worry about chaos damage. And for me, that's make a lot of things easier. The crafting is pretty simple. You just get the base, which is basically recirculate with +2 minion fracture. And then reinforce defense until you get the T1 flat and T1% energy shield. And in this case, I got T1, T2. So at some point, I have to recraft this again. And for the suffixes, you're just going to use the artist currency, which is basically, this is as exalted as a Norman. And you want the Ether of War to be dominant because we are crafting suffix with this, because the prefix is already done with the reinforced defense, right? And for the suffix, just look for intelligence and resistance. And then usually I just craft another resistance. And for the implicit, physical damage taken as chaos is really, really good for this build because it's CI and we are immune to chaos damage. So this is just straight up 6% physical damage reductions. So this is really, really good. And for the chest is a Twilight Regalia with global defense fracture. I buy the base like 60 divine, and the crafting process is the same. You reinforce defense until you get T1% and T1 flat. And in this case, I do have both of them T1, and then use edge currency to craft the suffixes. The suffixes on this one is crappy, so I will fix it at some point. But basically, you're looking for intelligence, 1 resistance, and you craft increased attributes. And attribute is really important because we are not playing with certain ostentations. Yeah, usually minion build will take that, but because we are going CI, if you're taking certain ostentations, the energy shield bonus coming from intelligence is basically gone, and you're going to lose a lot of ES. So that's the reason why I'm using the 6% increased attribute, because we're not going to take that, meaning you have to get all the strength and dex to fit all your attribute requirements. And for the implicit, I'm choosing to go to minion take 50% reduced effect damage. This is because I don't know where to find another source of reduced effect for minions. Ideally, I do not want this on the chest because the other options for this mod is you can get physical damage taken as chaos. And because we are CI, we immune to chaos, that is a very, very good defensive mod. But the problem is I do not find another source of reduced effect damage from minion. So right now, this is basically here. And for the amulet, this is a +2 amulet, which using focus amulet. Level 1 to all skill and level 1 to all physical skill. And physical skill because the Carrion Golem have physical attack. But you do not have to start with this. You can go with Dragonflight with +3 to Carrion Golem. I start with that one. It's pretty cheap to get. And after you have more currency, you can go for this. And the anointment is Grave Pack because we will need the minion accuracy rating. And for the rings, this is the ring that I'm using. I'm basically looking for a bone ring with minion deal increased damage fracture. And I just spawn bone fossil over and over again until I get the minion attack speed, minion movement speed, and minion life. In this case, I get like T1, T2, T2, so it's not very ideal, but for now this is good enough. And then suffix is gonna be changed and reinforced defense to get some energy shield. And then you craft the non-challenge skill have minus mana cost, and then with reflector ring with calendar touch. So for the glove, this is Triad Grips, and this is how we can convert all the minion physical damage to lightning damage. And the caveat of this one is we need every socket to be blue because the convert is based on the socket color. And since we're going to use the Rhino prototype on the Mercenary, I want every damage to convert into lightning damage. So that's the reason why all of them is the blue. And for the boots, this is a normal boots. I'm looking for fracture energy shield, either flat or percentage. Both of them is fine. And then I craft this with Essence of Fear that will give me minion half maximum life. And then I'm looking for T1 Intelligence, and then I will craft Chance to Avoid Bleed for the suffix, and then using adjust currency to craft the prefix. Basically, I'm looking for movement speed and I'm looking for energy shield. That's basically about it. And avoid bleeding, you get 60% from the craft, and then you can get another 40% from the implicit. And for the belt, this is Mage's Blood. I do not know if you can do this without Mage's Blood because Mage's Blood solve a lot of things. For example, the triple elemental flush. This basically give us 85% max rest to all elemental resistance, which is nice. And on this one, I have chance to avoid being shocked and combinations with Storm Shroud. This is a very classic way to have element immunity. And with Storm Shroud, the avoid being shocked basically apply to all elements. And for the flush, I think you need at least 54% is the minimum. So when you have the 70% increase effect and 25% increase effect, that basically cap you on 100%. So you basically elemental element immune. And for the Ruby flush, I just look for reduced effect of curses. So because I'm mostly mapping, and in map sometimes you have like a map that can give you like temporal chain vulnerability and all that stuff. It's very annoying. So this reduce effect of curse basically just remove all of that. And this one gives me armor, and I use granite flask. I do not use any movement speed flask, and this is because we are moving around with frostblink, so I'm not really worried too much about movement speed. And granite flask basically give us a flat 1500 armor, and this is how we can get 12k armor without any armor from the gear. And for the Spectre, we are using Carnage Chieftain and Host Chieftain. Carnage Chieftain give Frenzy, Host Chieftain give Power Charges, and both of them is really important. It's going to boost your minion DPS by a lot. Spectre Leader give increased 20% action speed buff, and that's really, really strong too. And the last one, I go for Perfect Warlord. So for Perfect Warlord, you need to buy the corpse. The corpse like this, Perfect Warlord. The most important part of this one is it uses Enduring Cry. So if you see, we have Endurance Charges here. And this Endurance Charges is not just applied to you, but to all the minion, and that will help your minion survive better. So Perfect Warlord is really important because of the Endurance Charges, and it also gives us Vitality, which give all your minion life regens. For the character itself, I don't really care that much about life regens because we are using a Leech as recovery. And the next one is the Anima Guardian. For the Anima Guardian, I'm going for Kingmaker, Crown of the Tyrant, and Explode Chest, Legacy of Fury, and then Gravebind. And Gravebind and the Explosive Chest is a package. So you have, if you want to use Explosive Chest, you have to use Gravebind because Explosive Chest only work if you use Gravebind. And the reason why I go for Explosive Chest is because one main problem on minion build is even if the number on the POB looks really high, you have to remember that that number is the accumulation of the damage of all the minions. So you're not seeing 300 million basically AoE. The reality is you're going to deal 20 million here, 20 million there, and 30 million here, 30 million there. You're not going to have 300 million AoE. So that is the problem with minion builds when you face with like a very dense mechanic, for example, like Blight. And that's the reason why I choose to go with explosions. The downside of the explosive chef is of course the defense of the Anima Guardian, so you have to make sure the Anima Guardian can survive first before you choose to go to explosive chests. And the next one, let's talk about the passive tree. And this is a very standard passive tree. So we got the big cluster for the minions. This is, I think, used on every minion build just because this is the only way you can scale the minion damage. There's not that much minion node on the tree. So I'm looking for increase effect, and minion increase attack and cast speed, maximum energy shield, and plus the attribute. And you really need to go for the +3 attribute because you need to cap your attribute requirements. And on the socket, I'm using Forbidden Flesh and Forbidden Jewel. This is also pretty expensive. I don't know what the price right now. I buy it like 90 div each. Then this is pretty important for the build because it gives you +2 golem, and it also make your golem immune to elemental damage. So this one is kind of mandatory, and unfortunately it's very expensive. And then this is also another cluster. So we have we basically have 2 clusters like this. And then for the third cluster, I'm choosing to go for the smaller one, basically a renewal, vicious bite, and race and pillage. The race and pillage is not mandatory. Basically, you just choose any node that it will be on the back. So you can have vicious bite and renewal on the front, so you don't have to waste skill point. And for the jewel, I'm using Primordial Eminence. And for people who are playing Carrion Golem before, you probably question like, why you not go for Harmony? I try to go for Harmony. The problem is because I'm already using Explosive Chest. The Golem skill is nice, but it already deals that much damage, and I don't really think like the cooldown recovery matter that much. So I rather the Golem have more attack speed, and that will help me with single target, because one of the problem with this build is single target, especially with something like Blight. And this is because your minion not going to attack the same target. All of them, like some of them will attack left and right, so you're not going to have full DPS on the single target, especially for a situation specifically like Blight. And the other Primordial Jewel that I'm using is Primordial Might, and this is to make the Golem aggressive. If you play minions, this is especially mandatory. The Golem is aggressive is really huge quality of life. And because we have 3 primordial items, and this Anima Stone will give us +1 Golem. And another one is Thread of Hope in here. And this is going to save some point, and this will give us another +1 golem here. And this one will give us +1 zombie, and this one will give us quite a lot of mana and also mana regen. This one is really nice for the mana. These 2 nodes over here, this is a mandatory node. So this one is basically give your minion chaos resistance, and this one give your minion physical damage reductions. This is really important. Do not skip this node. This node helps a lot with your minion survivability. And for the mastery, I just go for the 8 all maximum elemental resistance. And another mastery is a minion leech, because I want them to leech. And basically the minion now have regen and leech as a recovery. And the last one is probably this Elegant Hubris. We are looking for Slumlord. This is basically 80% increase minion damage. And ideally, you want it to be here and here. 1% to get 80% increase damage is really nice. And 80% here, because you have to take this node to get the Leech Mastery. And Leech Mastery will works on the minions, and it's also going to work with this node. So Bone Barrier, basically 1% of your damage dealt by your minion is leads to you as life. But because we are CI, we can convert that life to ES by using Ghost River. So this node will basically convert that life leech into Energy Shield Leech. And that Energy Shield Leech apparently work also with Leech is instant. And this basically make us able to run non-region maps. And this going to give us a lot of recovery. And one note, and the last one is Zealot Oath. Some of you probably going to ask why you're not taking Zealot Oath. Because my recovery coming from Leech. This is optional. If you want to take it, you can take it. You basically have regens. For me, my recovery coming from Leech. And I do not want to care about regions because I'm running Setup of Risk, and I do not want to care about cannot regen mod on my maps, because so far I don't have problem without regions. I get tons of recovery from the Leech and instant Leech. So that's the reason why I'm not taking Zealot Oath, because it doesn't really matter much to me. But if you want to, this is a node you can take. You will have your regen back. And for the passive and for the ascendancy, we are playing Necromancer. Commander of Darkness give attack speed and cast speed for you and your minions. It also give 30% increased damage and 30% elemental resistance. And Plaguebringer give your minion increased area of effect if you consume a corpse recently, usually via offering. And then with at least 1 corpse, you and your ally deal 10% more damage, and the nearby enemy deal 10% reduced damage. And this is a really nice node. And then we're going for minus aggressions. this is just a parting note. We want to get the wound barrier. It's going to give you physical damage reduction, and it's also going to give you leads from your minion, and it's also give your minion energy shield based on their life. And it's 40%. It's quite a lot of energy shield. And next one, let's talk about the Mercenary. The Mercenary is pretty standard. I'm using for reference. And this is a Dorian prototype Mercenary. So we're looking for minus lightning resistance on the ring as high as you can. And basically you reflect them with counter touch. You get a lot of minus lightning resistance. So this one is minus 261. And for the helmet and glove, it's just fire and cold resistance. If you can get regen, life, or armor, that will be nice. And for the implicit on the helmet, enemy you hit reduce life regen. This is really nice with a monster that can have a lot of regens. Or if you have Maven on your maps, this is going to help you with that. Lightning damage taken and recoup as life. Any recoup is really good for the survivability of the Mercenary. And for the glove, I'm using inflict lightning exposure. And also give a chance to intimidate enemy for 4 seconds. And intimidate basically make the enemy take 10% attack damage. And belt is standard, combining with Rat have 90% aura effect because we are benefiting from Rat. And the boots is replica aberrants. The most important line is cannot deal chaos damage. So this Mercenary cannot die from reflex. And for the shield, I'm using Dawnbreaker. This is just for the survivability of the minions. And then for the Scepter, the only important part is Rat have 34% increase aura effect to buff the Rat aura. And for the Amulet, Defend Destiny is just really good for the survivability. That's about it. Okay, the next one, let's talk about the POB real quick. This is just, I want to explain all the setting on the POB so you guys know where things coming from. And if you guys import your own build into here, you know how to set it up. So number one, you basically make a new skill gem and you want to put Rat level 23. This is a Rat from the Mercenary. And this is why I label it Mercenary. And you want to enable the haste because default, the normal haste is turned off. And then you want to go for your Carrion Golems and you put 5 here because you have 5 Carrion Golem. And you could put 10 here because you have 10 zombie. And you click include in full DPS, you will get the amount of DPS you're going to get. On the custom modifier, the first one is Spectre Leader. I basically put it here because in POB, Spectre Leader is not existing in the database. So I have to manually editing. This is nearby enemy have 20% increase attack speed. This is the buff from Spectre Leader from your Spectre. And for your other Spectre, because that is just a Spectre to generate charges, you basically just have to click these 3 point. You basically just have to click these 3 things here. All minions have power charges, it have frenzy charges, and it also have endurance charges. And back to the custom modifier, the next one is the Anima Guardian's effect. Basically, this one is the first one is Kingmaker. Kingmaker going to give Cooling Strike and give Crystal Multi, and give plus 10 fortifications. And the next effect from Anima Guardian is from the Crown of the Tyrant. And make sure your Crown of the Tyrant is blue in socket, so it gives lightning damage. And then it have nearby enemy minus 10% all resistance. And the last one is the custom modifier for the Mercenary. Mercenary have no reservations because this aura is reserved by the Mercenary. And for the aura effect, it's just how many aura effect you have on your Mercenary. For me, I have 19% from the belt, 34% from the scepter, and 14% from the amulet. So that's, I think, total is 67%. So I'm going to put 67% here on the red aura effect. So that's the custom modifier. And on the enemy stats, you see that I put minus 180 resistance. And this is to count the Dorian prototype effect. It's probably close to minus 200s, but I'm just going to put a minus 180 here. And for this one, make sure the Carrion Golem, you have 10 non-golem minions. You have 10 zombies, so that's basically give like 50% more damage for the Carrion Golems. And Feeding Frenzy, and all the other buff and curse. And then you have Minion Onslaught, and the Minion Onslaught coming from Ravenous Horde. This is the reason why your minion have Minion Onslaught. So if you do not take this note, you have to take off this check over here. And Fortified, yes, we are fortified from the Anima Guardian, give 10 fortifications. Corpse nearby, usually just put in 10 because the maximum is 10, and if you're in mapping, you're going to have corpse everywhere. And for the enemy is shock, and I only put 15% here, and you actually do not have that much shot effect from the golem, because even though you see we have like 300 million DPS, do remember that each of them is only hit 43 million. With small hit like this, you're not going to have big chunk of shock effect. So I only put 15 here. There is also exposure, but that I have to custom modify that again from the Mercenary, but I just going to not including that one. And also on the POB, a lot of people usually like to turn off the Molten Shell because they just want to see the defensive without a Molten Shell. Just assume the worst scenario. So the defense I don't think is that bad. So the hit pool is 100k. 20k physical I think is pretty okay. With Molten Shell, of course, it will be a lot bigger. So I will leave this off because this is what most people do. And the last one is for this flash check over here. This is basically to count for the effect of the Bottle Fate. So this does give quite a lot of DPS, and you need to make sure you check the bottom here, enemy on consecrated ground, and then you will have the Bottle of Fate effect calculated. So it's really up to you. On mapping scenario, you're always going to have Bottle of Fate. In bossing scenario, probably not, because you're not going to have the flash generations, but you know, you can play around with it. So that's basically about the POP. I just want to make sure if you guys want to play the build, you know where every setting come from, you know where the number come from. And the last one, let's talk about the map mods. What map mod can be dangerous for you and what you cannot run. From all the map mod, one main mod that you cannot do is leech. Monster cannot leech. You cannot run this mod. This is the only mod that you cannot run. And as far as I'm playing 16.5, I never see this mod, even from Scrap of Race. So make sure your map doesn't have this one. But if you use Zealot Odd, you're going to get your regen back. But then you have to make sure that your map do not have like no regen stuff. As for the rest of the map mod that I'm blocking here, most of the time I'm okay with them appear on Race. So if I got this mod from Scrap of Race, it's fine. I just do not want to put them on my maps, because this mod is going to get amplified if I put them on my maps, and some of them is going to be really bad. So for example, the first one is minion have less attack speed. This is 50% with your effect modifier from your Atlas. This can go up to like 90% something. This is obviously going to be bad for your minion damage. The same reason for the chance to block attack damage. If you put it on your maps and it can amplify, this is like 97 or 98% block, and obviously they're going to reduce your damage by quite a lot. But if they coming up from Scrap of Race, this is fine. It's not that big of a deal. And then damage penetrate. This is also one thing that I do not like to put on my map mod, because this thing going to make your character very squishy. So this one for me is a lot more dangerous than maximum ORS. So usually I would just cut this one off, because this is minion build. Minus all monster rest is not that bad, except if it combined with Shepherd Touch. Because Shepherd Touch is going to have like a lot of beam here and there. I don't think you can avoid all of them. But if the map doesn't have Shepherd Touch, minus maximum rest for minion build is not that bad, because most of the time your minion will kill things for you and you will stand behind the minion. So most of the time it is fine. You probably have to go a little bit slower, but the map is definitely doable. And the next one is player have less defense, because we are energy shield build. If you put this on your map, you're going to cut like at least half of your years off. If you're fine with that, you can go with this mod. For me, I really do not want to do that, because I'm mostly farming with Scrap of Race, and there's a good chance that a lot of damage mod going to appear on Race. And the next one is Rage and Unique Monster remove 5% of life. This one is really dangerous for your minions. In very specific situations, if you put this on your maps, with full effect, with full increased effect of expression modifier on Atlas tree, I think this will go up to 9%. And 9% basically you just need 10 monster hit the same minion, and your minion is gone. Doesn't matter how many life they have, doesn't matter how many maximum resistance or like any damage reductions, they're gone. So in specific situations, sometimes the minion die from this mod. So I decide to not include it on my map mod. If this appear on the Scrap of Race, like I said, 5%, that means you need 20 of them to hit the same minion. The chance is pretty low. Even on Blight, that's not happening. So I'm fine with them appear on the race. But when I put it on the map mod, sometimes it does kill the minion. So I can be just unlucky, but I just decided not to include this one, because I do not want my minion to die. And the last one is reduce aura effect, and this is mainly for the precisions for your minions, because if you put this on your map mod, it's going to go up to like 90% reduce aura. Your minion accuracy is going to go down by a lot, and therefore your DPS is basically gone. So this one is also something that I do not want to put on my mat, but if it appear on the Scarab of Wrist, this is fine. So I set the minion accuracy on the build specifically for this, so in case if I got this mod, my minions still have 100% chance to hit. I'm still going to have less DPS because of the I get reduced haste and all that stuff. That's the reason why I'm okay this coming up from race, but I do not want them on my map mod. And that's basically all the dangerous map mod for this build. And I'm going to put this regex on the descriptions, so if you guys want to use the regex. So I think that's all the technical stuff about the build. And the build itself, I think is performing really good this league because of the Donani Mercenary. We get a lot of DPS, but survivability is a little bit on the questions, like the minion is always survive, but the character, we have like 8k energy shield, like 100k EHP on the POB. It's not squishy, but I want to try to make the defensive a little bit better than this, but I still don't know what to do with the defense. But for now, I can do Blight. Not the best on Blight, like I think all the Blight that I lost is mostly the Blight that are branching up. Because like I said earlier, the minion itself is only deal like 30 to 40 million each of them. Right, it looks big on the POP because it combined all of them into one, but obviously not going to have like that much DPS AoE. So when the Blight is branching, your DPS is just split up in too many directions, and it end up being the build doesn't have enough DPS for it. So if you want to farm lab, I do not recommend this build. Even if we can do it, it's not going to be pretty. But for anything else, I think this build is splendid. For Abyss, amazing. Alpha is amazing. It's minion build, like you don't have to do anything, the minion is the one to do all the work. All you need to do is to avoid things. So because you already do not have to control your damage, so at the very least pay attention to your defense. So as long as you position your character properly, there's not that many damage coming to you. And try not to run into the monster directly, because sometimes your minion is not fast enough and the monster going to hit you first, and sometimes some monster does hit really hard. So just pay attention to that. For example, like Blight, you can run around the Blight and the minion can clear all the Blight by itself. So you don't have to go inside the Blight monster that's spawning, because if you go inside there and your minion is not directly come to you, obviously you're going to die, right? So you can walk around the Blight and the minion's still going to hit all the monsters around you. So be smart when you play this build, even though this is basically like a lazy build, because it's a minion build, you don't have to play anything, the minion is the one who do all the work. And it's very comfy. Like I said, this is my favorite build. I really like this build. And this league, it got buff. I don't think the buff is that big of a deal. Like at a certain point, it really doesn't make it that much of a difference. I really wish the minion does have a better stats. Especially the zombie. The zombie is the one that's going to die first if things going out of hands. The zombie is the weakest of all the minions. The DPS is fine, but the survivability is really bad. There's only so much you can buff the minion. Like I give the minion as much survivability as I can. They have a lot of maximum resistance. They have physical damage reduction. They have endurance charges and all that stuff. So I really wish the minion have a better stat, because with challenge this day, the minion just take too much damage, in my opinion. And if you guys have any questions, like usual, leave in the comment below. I will try my best to answer it. And if you guys like the video, consider like and subscribe. That will help the channel a lot. And thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you in the next one.